Hello, today we are continuing our work on Campagnoli caprice number 3. This is our third video on this particular etude, and today we're working on measures 11 through 13. So my first practice advice for this section is to practice it in groupings of 2 and 3 notes. In measure 11, practice it in groupings of 2 notes. The first 2 notes, and then the next 2 notes. And the next grouping of 2 notes, and repeat it each grouping 4 times. I'd recommend doing that for measure 11, starting down bow and up bow, and doing a similar thing with measure 12. Playing it in groupings of 3 notes and repeating it 4 times. And same thing for measure 13 with groupings of 2 notes. Starting down bow and starting up bow for that passage. Next advice I would have is that whenever possible, practice as double stops. You can do this in measures 12 and 13. At measure 12, we have a third and a sixth for this passage. So you can practice it as double stops. Third, sixth. That's measure 12, and you can also do the same thing in measure 13 for much of that measure. Third, sixth, fourth, then third, sixth, and fourth, sixth here. So whenever possible, practice it as double stops. What that does is it helps solidify the intonation. It also helps clarify the left hand coordination. Next advice I would have for this passage is, of course, to practice slowly. Now, why practice slowly? Because it helps us cultivate a good sound, helps us listen to what we're doing. It also helps us to work on fine details. For example, in measure 13, we have accents throughout this measure on the first and third beats. So practicing slowly gives us time to work on and refine those small details. There's also not only accents on the first and 3 beats, there's also a crescendo throughout the measure. From piano to forte. So I recommend practicing this passage slowly to work on those details. And next advice I would have for this is to practice groupings by larger beat. For example, starting in measure 11, and then the next beat, next beat. Do the same thing in measure 13.